I am telling you now, this will not be a funny episode. We are talking about a new product made by BMW. They are Germans, and the Germans are a serious bunch. So there will be no funny stuff here. Nein. Well, we kind of have to get used to everything being online and virtual from now on. No more hands on anything and no more touching anything. And to get us used to this new lifestyle, motorcycle companies have stepped in and started revealing their new products online. BMW decided they've had enough of teasing us with the R18 concepts and presented the production version of their long-awaited cruiser. Lots of unexpected decisions were made, so stick around. Without further ado, here is the BMW R18 Cruiser. And right next to it is a conspicuously similar looking bike, the BMW R5, which the R18 was obviously inspired from. Some would say that BMW just traced over it with a pencil. The BMW R5 was introduced in 1936. It was the first BMW motorcycle to feature a foot-operated 4-speed gearbox, meaning that riders could therefore leave their hands on the handlebars. A brand new electrically welded double cradle frame made from tubular steel was also used, and together with the hydraulically damped telescopic front fork made sure that the R5 had outstanding stability and road holding, which at that time was highly needed since the roads in Germany were in pretty poor condition. Even though the R5 was only in production for a short 2 years, it gave way to other new and improved models, and looking at it now, you'd swear it's from the 1950s rather than the 1930s, so a visionary machine nonetheless. But back to our 2020 incarnation of the R5, the mighty R18 is built around BMW's most iconic motorcycle component, the boxer engine, and has the overall shape and lines of the R5. The general line of the frame, the shape of the 16-liter fuel tank, and the classic black paint with white striping all point to the R5 being the grandfather of the R18. Now, it's no secret that BMW is going after the huge US cruiser market. They've even said so themselves, but hats down to them for not creating a generic cruiser clone and shoving that onto the market, but instead drawing inspiration from their own heritage. They've gone down the road with the generic cruiser clone, the R1200C for those that remember it, the one with too much chrome on it, and we all know how that ended up. Alright, so the engine of the R18 is a monster at 1,802 cc's or 110 cubic inches, as some of you might be used to. It produces 91 horsepower, and according to BMW, you will have 150 Newton meters or 110 pound-feet of torque available at all times, starting from as low as 2,000 RPM. The torque curve peaks at 3000 RPM, where the big boxer produces 157 Newton meters or 116 pound-feet of torque. The R18 engine is the largest boxer BMW has ever put into a motorcycle until now. It is an air-cooled engine, and the valves are operated by push rods, which would remind you of decades-old technology but they actually do serve a purpose apart from looking cool. If the engine was operated by the standard overhead camshaft, its massive width would be further increased, and since high revs and massive peak power is not what this bike is all about, push rods and rockers do the job perfectly, and they look cool. The engine is connected to a 6-speed gearbox which transfers the power to the rear using a very cool looking exposed drive shaft. I was afraid this wouldn't make it over to Europe, but alas, it's here. Dave, promise you're not gonna stick your fingers in there. Styling is where BMW has spent a lot of time on this bike. Their motto was to allow the rider to customize the bike to their liking and to be able to do this easily.
So in this cruiser world, it is very important that you can create your own motorcycle. Everyone is different. Everyone has his own taste. And so people love to express their own taste on a motorcycle. And so we focused on the main elements, which is so important for customizing. This is the handlebars. You have different versions, you have different seats, you have different wheels. And then you have, of course, for BMW, very important, the covers of the engine, like the side covers, the valve covers, and the front cover. And the cool thing is, it is so easy to change them because underneath the oil area is sealed by another cover. And so it's so easy, it's just 2 screws. You get it off, you get a different version on.
If you don't like that fishtail exhaust, which I know a lot of you don't, exchange it for another one. Lots of components from the wheels, the mirrors, the engine covers, the seat, and even the handlebars have been designed to be swapped over with the minimum amount of fuss. If you're into hurting yourself on purpose, BMW has a plan for you as well. You can swap the standard handlebars with these ones, and since BMW has designed all the electrical and hydraulic cables with connectors, you can easily swap the handlebars yourself and then be free to go and ride in pain or whatever you're into. The downside of all the preparation BMW has done for easy user customization and the fact that the bike is huge is the weight. At 345 kilograms or 760 pounds, this is a massive beast and there is no sidestepping this fact. The one positive thing is that BMW has installed a reverse gear, so you don't actually need to ride with a friend just in case you need help with reversing, even if this is an optional extra. Get it, you'll need it, definitely. Electronics are obviously part of the modern age and BMW hasn't gone overboard with them, but hasn't skimped out as well. Keyless ignition, riding modes, ABS, a small digital instrument cluster and LED lighting come as standard, with optional cornering lights and hill hold control. That's where you don't need to keep the brake pressed while on an incline. The riding modes let a bit of the Germans' humor come to the surface. There are 3 of them, one for rain, aptly named Rain, one which gives you all of the available power and tones down the traction control a bit, aptly named Rock, and the standard everyday one named Roll. Rock and roll in the rain. There was supposed to be no funny things, Dave. One of the main fears a lot of you had about the R18 was the riding position. Since the cylinders are horizontal, there are no forward controls, so the R18 is a mid-controlled cruiser. By the looks of it, it doesn't look uncomfortable at all, but for how long it remains comfortable is a question that remains to be answered when we actually ride one. There are floorboards for those of you wondering, which should make longer trips easier. BMW is very proud of their heritage cruiser, and there is no place other than Berlin where they would think to build it. This proudness of theirs can be seen all over the bike, with Berlin built being painted everywhere. Price-wise, the standard cruiser will launch at $17,500 US, and the more spatial, chrome-friendly first edition will see dealership floors at $19,900 US, which at least in the US compares very well with the current cruiser offerings. The weird part is that BMW only launched one of the models based on the R18 platform. This is the bare-bones Cruiser, but we also have seen shots of an R18 Tourer, which comes equipped for longer rides with more wind protection, larger luggage solutions, and a complete infotainment system. No word about this Tourer yet, but Dave will keep his eyes open for any news on it. Alright, so we have a large, easy to customize, quite good looking, in my opinion, Cruiser from BMW. Apart from the price, I really love this bike, but I'm more curious of what the general consensus is out there at the moment, so let us know in the comments. Also, tell us where you're from so we can see what different markets think of the R18. Also, on Monday, I'm going to go and sit on one and most probably lick it. So if there's anything specific you want to know, comment below. There's always weird things people want to know, like what does the fuel filler cap look like? Whatever, comment and I'll check it out. Well, that's the show for today, everyone. If you've enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up. And if you think you've learned something new, consider subscribing or becoming a Patreon to help us make more of these shows. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next one.